Today I'm going to talk to you about MITS and PLAID. I'm Angela Beyke, the Assistant Asphalt Program Manager for VDOT. MITS and PLAID is a centralized online database where hot mix asphalt and central mix aggregate job mixes and sample results are submitted and approved and can be viewed by the department and by the contractors. MITS stands for Material Information Tracking System, and that's the VDOT side of the program. And PLAID stands for Producer Lab Analysis and Information Details, and that's the contractor side. The purpose of MITS and PLAID and why VDOT developed it was the ability to monitor acceptance testing results and the quality assurance results, both for the producer and the department in one place. The goal was to save time and do it so that the actions, if they needed to be taken, could be taken immediately. It's close to real-time monitoring that the department and the contractors can get. One other perk of it is that the contractor can see the VDOT test results of those split samples that you take with your department representative. And the MITS side allows VDOT personnel to approve the job mixes that the contractor submits to the department, enter all of the VDOT QA testing, enter all project information, see all of the contractor's submitted data, whether it's test results or the daily weigh sheet summaries. It allows the department to close out lots and projects, run any lot adjustment or comparison reports that need to be done per specification. The PLAID side allows the contractors or the producers to submit those job mixes to the department for approval, submit sample data, test results, and any tonnages for VDOT projects, see VDOT testing results, and it allows the contractors to run a report of all their submitted data at the end of the year throughout the season to kind of see where they're running and if they need to make any adjustments or not. This slide shows a little picture representation of how MITS and PLAID talks to each other and the different roles that each side of the system has. So MITS has a couple different roles. We have your QA technician, it's usually your QA manager for the district. Your senior lab technician and your lab technician, those are the people who are running the testing in the labs. Your district materials engineer and or the DME designee, which is the person acting on their behalf. And then the program has a couple different administrators that keeps the program up and running. PLAID also has some different roles. We have your senior lab technician. That's usually your mix design technician who's submitting those testing results to the department. We have your lab technician, that's the person who's running the testing. We have your bonded weigh person, they're the one who's responsible for submitting all of the TL102s to the department the next morning after production. And then each company has their own administrator who's in charge of that company's technicians or people who are in the system. This is just a screenshot of what PLAID looks like. Every user has a user ID and a password. You can get that from your administrator for your company, or you can also talk to your VDOT representative from your district that you work in. This is once you enter into the system, the home screen gives you notifications. So for contractors, your notifications would show that your job mix has been approved, it's been denied, it needs to be tweaked a little bit. It will show you if lots have been closed out and completed on VDOT's side. It will also show you if VDOT's test results are entered into the system. If you're on the VDOT side, you'll see those things, but you'll also see if a TL102 has been submitted and if contractor's test results are submitted. So PLAID and MITS lets you enter your job mix form. This is what the form looks like. It's no different than the paper form that you see that you turn into the district. What you enter in here is your percentages for your aggregate and your asphalt, and then the targets that you need to meet for your gradation and for your volumetrics. Couple requirements regarding MITS and PLAID that are in the specifications in section 211. The contractor shall submit a job mix formula for each mixture through PLAID. Any of your supporting documentation, your aggregate properties, your blends, that all needs to be turned into the district on paper, but the cover sheet that we showed goes through the system through PLAID. And then the second requirement that's very important is the contractor shall input any test results within 24 hours of sampling to the department through the system unless otherwise approved by the materials engineer. So unless the materials engineer waives a weekend, waives a holiday, those test results need to be put in within 24 hours. This form is where you put your test results in. You put in your weights for your gradation, you put in your asphalt content, and if you have volumetrics, you would put in your GMM and your bulking weights, and then the system does all of the calculations for you that you've learned through this class. Then you would hit submit, it sends it to the department reviews it, sees if it passes or fails. If VDOT has a split for it, they would put in their results. They would check to see if VDOT passes or fails, and or if those samples are comparing or if there's an issue in comparison. This is just the volumetric screen for your volumetric portion of the sample. Your TL102 or your weigh sheet summary. It's a two-part form. The top part's materials, the bottom part is for construction or your inspector out on the project. It needs to be used for all VDOT projects. This includes your local assistance projects or your LAPs. The top part of the TL102 is generated and submitted in PLAID, and then you need to work with your inspectors to figure out how to get that form to the inspectors. Some inspectors prefer to have it by email. Some inspectors prefer to have it printed out and sent on the truck the next morning, and some inspectors actually have access to the system. So there needs to be some communication at your pre-conference or pre-construction conference meetings on how to get that form out to the construction folks. A couple things that need to be filled out. There's user-defined date and times. So you need to put your start date, your start time, your end date, and your end time. We thought this was a little bit easier than just setting it from 12 to 12 because every contractor's computer system does it a little bit differently. One other function that MITS and PLAID has is it has control charts. It is a specification requirement for the producer to maintain these control charts, so we put them into the system, that way it's maintained automatically. Control charts are created for your spec sieves, your asphalt content, and your volumetric properties. We have 3 warning levels currently. Number 1 warning level is if you have one test result outside of plus or minus 2 standard deviations from your job mix. You would want to look at that almost immediately just to make sure there's not something crazy going on in your plant. Our second warning level is when you have 3 consecutive test results outside of your outside of 1 or standard deviation from your job mix. You would want to look and make sure that maybe your mix needs to be tweaked a little bit. And then we also have when you have 11 consecutive test results fall on the same side of the job mix. And that should really show you that maybe where you designed it, maybe wasn't the right spot. Maybe you need to move and submit a Part B to your mix design to get it to where you're actually running that sample. So here's just an example of what a control chart looks like. The blue are your individual test results. The dotted lines are your standard deviation limits, and then the red line in the middle is what your job mix target was. So you can kind of see how it varies through different days of production and what your mix is really doing at a quick glance and looking at a visual. The system also has what we call D2S. D2S is the individual test differences between 2 results obtained on test portions of the same material. This is for your split samples that the contractor splits with VDOT. These D2S numbers come from AASHTO test methods, our Virginia test methods, and then any type of historical data that the department has analyzed. And D2S is only flagged on our pay sieves and our asphalt content. What do you do if the D2S is flagged? From a contractor standpoint and from a VDOT standpoint, we need to look at our sampling procedures. A lot of the time it comes down to how the sample was taken and or how it was split out on the plant. If you can't find anything with that, we want to look at our testing procedures to make sure that both technicians in the contractor lab and the VDOT lab are testing per the test method. They're testing to the right temperatures, they're doing the same times, make sure that there's no discrepancy in the testing of it. And then if you still can't find anything, you might want to look at that laboratory test equipment and make sure that everything's in calibration. Nothing came loose, nothing's malfunctioning, just to eliminate any of the different variables that could happen when two technicians run that sample. One thing of note is that both the producer and the department's lab should be checked. It could happen anywhere, and it's really important that we look at everywhere that we can to try to eliminate these D2S flags. One other tool that we use in the system is what we call a quality management report. And the purpose of this is to provide the users of the system with an automated and visual tool that summarizes production data at any given time. It can be narrowed down to a district and statewide level for the department, and it can be narrowed down to a contractor and/or plant level on the PLAID side. What it does is it helps the department analyze the health of the program at any given point during the season. It also helps the department with the capability to produce data that's needed for statistical analysis and for the annual FHWA report. The QMR has 3 levels. The first level is your very summarized statewide data or district lab data, contractor data. Your second level lists individual test results, highlighting your failures and/or your flags on those samples. And then your third level would take you back to those individual samples so you can dive down into the actual numbers and those actual test results. So what can we get out of this functionality? One big one is the sampling rates. We can look at it per district, we can look at it per producer. VDOT has a 20% target for sampling rates, so it's a quick check to see where the department stands on that goal. It can also show the number of lots that have been completed and the point adjustments that have been given to those lots, whether it's by district, by contractor, by plant. It'll give us the number of samples that have been submitted to date for the year, so we can kind of see where we stand on production and how much tonnage is left through the year. And it gives us the number of flags for gradation, asphalt content, and our volumetric properties. And then the bigger one that the department looks at is it gives us our F&T statistic testing, which is from VTM 59. And that's what we report to the federal highways to make sure that our QA program's working the way that it should be. So this is just a screenshot of your first level of the QMR report when you log in and you see it. And those circles show you what the sampling percentage is for each individual district. Level 2 lists those individual results, summarizing the key data with flags and failures highlighted. So that includes any pay sieves, our asphalt content, our VTM, VMA, VFA, FA ratio, your VCA if it's SMA, your GMM, and your GMB. It also gives us our standard deviations, our F-test, and our T-test results. From level 2, you can select individual samples to go to that TL50 report to actually look at those numbers and those individual test results. A little bit on comparison reports that the program has. Comparison reports are something that only the VDOT side or the MITS side can see. There's 2 different types. There's a match comparison report, which statistically compares those split sample results. And what that match comparison report is evaluating our plant procedures and laboratory equipment. Our non-match comparison reports evaluate material consistency when the department has not sampled during any given production period. And these 2 reports run those F&T statistical comparisons. Notifications. The system has those notifications on the home screen that we saw earlier in the presentation, but we also have the functionality to send additional notifications through the system. And this happens if certain conditions occur. Some examples are if you have one volumetric failure, or if you have the same sieve flag 3 times in a row. And users can select which notifications they want to receive. So if you don't want to see any of them, then you just don't turn them on. If you're a QC manager of a contractor, or you run a plant, or if you're a QA manager for VDOT, you may want to see certain things so that you know that you need to start paying attention to them. So you can go in and you can turn them on, and you can choose how to receive them. You can choose to get them through email if you don't log into the system every day, or you can choose to see them on your home screen in the program. And that's entirely up to the users. It's not mandated that you use it, but it's in there to try to make everybody's daily work life a little bit easier if needed. If you have any questions on MITS and PLAID, either take it back to your company administrator who's responsible for PLAID, and/or take it to your district representative who is in charge of the MITS and PLAID portion. If there's no other questions, good luck, and I hope you enjoy using the system.